was paying more attention to the audio than the video this time around.
Oh, right, but maybe we should actually do a proper intro.
What's an intro, really, but a state of mind? Hey there, everyone! We watched the Santa Claus 3 again.
Yep, second of 52 watches.
Second of 52 watches.
And this is, of course, Claus in Effect, as we have deemed it to be named.
Yeah, we've finally decided on a name. This is Claus in Effect.
The only podcast you'll find on the internet where you'll find three chuckle fucks watching Santa Claus 3 every week for a calendar year. I'm Theodore, and these are my two co-hosts.
Jacob.
John, and I'm already feeling regret. I feel like I should start with a personal anecdote, because I think that's a really good way to get into the idea of how we felt watching the Santa Claus 3 the second time.
Please do, because I would like to contribute my own as well.
So I decided yesterday was going to be my watching day. Yesterday, Saturday the 30th. But I was suddenly contacted by a friend who wanted to go see Darkest Hour, which is a good movie, by the way. I recommend it. And It dawned on me, as I was driving to the movie, that I was considering turning down my friend because I had to watch the Santa Claus 3 today, and I didn't know if I was going to have time. And that's when I started feeling a sense of dread for the future, because I've already reached the point where the Santa Claus 3 is dictating my life.
Alright, I decided that Wednesday was going to be my watch day, Wednesday the 27th. I would have watched it on Friday to have it more fresh in my mind, but Friday the 29th, that's my birthday, and I was like, why the fuck would I want to spoil my day by watching the Santa Claus 3? So it's just like, okay, let's just get this done and over with, and I was just sat there like every 10 minutes like, okay, at least there's only this much more to go. And I was trying to look at it like, I've already watched this much, so the rest of it can't be that bad to watch.
So you were basically taking it 1 minute at a time, more or less, trying to just work your way through. Okay, that's interesting.
And I've designated that I have to do that to myself, because I'm really bad at overall prospect, like, oh my god, there's this much time left. I'm like, I have to look at it like, great, I've already done this much, if I've already watched half an hour, that means I only need to do that 2 more times.
Okay, so mine, I think, is a little less exciting than either of yours, because you, John, you basically considered destroying your friendship for the sake of Tim Allen, and Britton, your life has been ruined by it already. I don't think
ruined.
This is a good thing, but basically starting around, I would say, Wednesday, I started to get this sense of dread, because I hadn't watched the movie yet. But I knew that I would have to watch it again soon. And when you have that looming feeling of this is going to happen and you can't do anything to stop it, it kind of fucks with you a little bit. I'm just going to throw that out there.
That's how I feel most of the time about like schoolwork and such, because it's just like, what the fuck do I do? I can't stop deadlines. Like,
this has become a job. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, but okay.
And the scary thing is, I knew that this would happen eventually. I think that was just an inevitability. But it happened much sooner than I anticipated. This is watch number 2.
Yeah, I got mine out the way so I wouldn't have that feeling. I think I'm going to get it a lot more in the future. But to quote Douglas Adams, I like deadlines. I like the whoosing sound they make when they go by.
I feel like there's going to be a lot less to talk about this time than our awful rambling synopsis.
I took some notes that I'd like to bring up, but not all of them are really like super discussion worthy.
Yeah,
just some things I
going
observed.
over my notes, starting off, we have the elementary school, which I noticed on my second watch.
There are a few more elf puns that the two of us caught, and Elementary School is basically in the first shot of the movie, and it's a very good pun.
And,
I like that one.
Leading into this point, they were talking about some reindeer maths. Like, I think they were, like, at 200 miles per hour. Like, I think on my next watch, I'm going to work my way through it and work it out.
Please do. That'll be your homework.
Hold on. I have one proposal for this. Write down the question at the start of the movie and see how long into the movie it takes for you to solve it.
But then I can't take notes on the other things.
Okay, if you're still taking notes on things that are happening in the movie on the third watch, then I'm sorry.
No.
There's no hope.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. there's a lot of subtle stuff that I noticed. I think this is a lot later on in the movie, but I noticed when Jack Frost was messing with the naughty and nice list and speeding it up, I paused it, and none of the names on the naughty and nice list are in any form of alphabetical order.
Oh.
Okay, so Santa's list is very disorganized.
Yes, and that is why it takes him so
Interesting.
long. Like, fucking alphabeticalize your list, whether it be first name or surname.
Well,
In what alphabet,
do you suppose
though?
he would... Ooh.
Oh, I mean, well, Tim Allen Tim Allen is like American
the
English,
question for you.
so using the English Latin alphabet would make sense.
Here's a question for you. Do you think he alphabetizes it, like... Do you think he has separate lists for separate countries, or do you think everyone in the entire world is alphabetized? Because you would have a lot of A's to go through before you got to the B's, and then you'd just be jumping all around different countries for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, a lot of the A's would probably be from, like, it's probably, like, African countries.
What?
I have no
That's
idea
not
what
my point at all.
What?
That's. I don't think you understand how names work. A is, yeah, of course. I didn't mean alphabetize. Okay, whatever. The point is that Tim Allen has some structural issues with his system, and
Tim
that
Allen
becomes
has
very
never
apparent.
used a sorting tool before. Let's get that out the way.
Yeah, he doesn't use Excel.
Yeah. Speaking of the list, I'd like to jump ahead to one of my notes. During one of the later scenes with Carol and the step-parents, or not step-parents? Fuck,
In-laws?
no, that's not how, in-laws, fuck, that's right, okay, I can't English today, apparently. This is like the scene before the tree topper shit goes down and the tree is ruined and everyone gets sad, where Scott Calvin, that's his actor name, whatever, is drawn away by Curtis to do some talking about like the list and such, and because the machine obviously went out haywire because of Jack Frost's horrible bullshit, and I couldn't help but pay attention to like what Tim Allen is saying in the background, and this is a real line in the movie. I'm not making this up. The thing that he's discussing with the elves is, well, the problem with the list is that it's all crinkled. No shit! No shit!
Okay.
It, like, what are you looking at? The pile of paper is just like, oh, God, I don't, that just seems like a big no duh moment. And that's like, I highly suggest giving more attention to that specific moment on your next watch, because it's just really odd and out, like, it doesn't make, I don't know, it stuck out to me in a way, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Early in my notes, very early in my notes. I don't know why I wrote this now in hindsight, because it's not as fresh in my mind. But I've just written as one of my bullet points, foreign quack, as in like the duck noise.
Yes,
Yes.
I
Oh
wrote
my
that
God.
down too.
Yes. I didn't write it down because I knew I would remember it. It's really good.
I don't remember why I wrote it down, as the movie isn't completely fresh in my mind, because yeah, it probably will be like a month down the line, but you know. But refresh me on foreign quack.
So, Scott Calvin has this duck that quacks in many different languages, and that's basically its whole thing. But the way it does the different languages is that the duck says quack in different languages.
Oh.
It doesn't actually say the word quack in different languages.
Yeah. The duck says a sentence in a foreign language, but just interjects the word quack into it.
Yep.
Oh,
basically.
right, yeah, now I remember.
It also, I don't remember exactly what it says, but it says something as Carol's like leaving the scene, which I thought was kind of funny actually this time.
We need to Google Translate that in one of our watches.
Well, more homework.
I don't think Google Translate will help us that much. It might make things
I also
worse.
noted down how often the Tooth Fairy even makes an appearance. He talks like once at the beginning of the movie, and then doesn't even show up again, and then makes a one-liner like at 80 minutes in.
Yeah, just like all of the other legendary beings.
Do you think the legendary figures appeared more in the first and second movies? Because I feel like they probably did.
They didn't appear at all in the first.
I think they only appeared
really?
in the second
Okay.
movie.
Okay, second movie. Still,
Yeah.
they would have at least had some more opportunity for character establishment. I won't say growth because that seems like giving too much credit.
Yeah,
What character?
Yeah, but again, like, the Tooth Fairy, compared to all the other legendary figures, appears like 2 times in the movie to make a one-liner. Like, even Cupid gets more screen time than that.
Yeah, and this is another note that I took down. Cupid's CGI is still just, like, it looks really obvious and bad at points, like, especially during, like, the ending scenes where he's, like, flying back up and down very quickly because he's, like, getting called back by Santa. Like, it looks really bad and obvious, and
Yeah.
it's not good.
They used CG because he has to be flying in every scene, and he also has to be smaller than everyone. But they
True,
do the
but
same
it
thing
just-
with Buddy and Elf, and that movie does it way better, and it's from 3 years before Santa Claus 3.
Leaping off of that point really quickly, I'd just like to say I didn't even catch this at all the first time we watched the movie. The baby, the Santa baby, is named Buddy after Bud.
Alright, but here's where I saw, like, a conspiracy theory on TV tropes.
Oh.
Because
Uh-oh. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that you're doing extra credit reading for this movie.
Okay, but if you remember from the movie Elf, the not elf from that movie that pretends he's an elf is called Buddy.
It's all coming together.
Are you telling me that the Santa Claus trilogy is a prequel to Elf?
Yes.
I would say that doesn't make sense, but I don't think I've ever actually seen Elf, so I can't prove that it's not. Wait, hold on. I know that in Elf, like, it's a human baby that is accidentally taken by Santa to the North Pole, right?
Yep.
And then learns that he's not an elf. So here's my question then. In this case, at the time that Elf is canon in this universe, that means Tim Allen has died and a new Santa has taken his place, which also means that Carol and the newborn went back into, I guess, the quote-unquote real world. That's just the simplest way to put it. Which means that Carol is a widow and Tim Allen dies very shortly after the events of Santa Claus 3. Because that baby is not very old when it is taken by Santa.
But
as I
no,
recall.
that's okay. This is an impossible scenario because in Elf, Buddy knows his mother's real name, and it's not Carol Newman.
She could have gotten her name changed.
Buddy could have been put up for adoption at a young age because
Oh,
of the
are you saying
grieving.
that Carol died? Wait, no.
No, I'm saying
wouldn't make
that
any sense.
Carol couldn't put up with the loss of Scott Calvin and put Buddy up for adoption.
Are we gonna need to watch Elf as homework for our Santa Claus 3 series?
I think we can do that after we've watched Santa Claus 352 times.
Oh god, that means I'm going to have to do the Elf watch that comes on every year. I mean, it's not as bad as Santa Claus 3, but I still hate that Elf is always on every
We've
year.
already passed the season for watching Elf. No matter when we do it, it will be not good.
No, because next December, we'll still be doing this podcast. We can still
We're not
watch
gonna
Elf.
remember. This is episode 2 of 52. By that point, we'll be raving lunatics.
I'm going to remember, and I'll remind you motherfuckers.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
Thanks, Mr. Narwhal.
Speaking of elves, I had another note that I theorize this because of how effective it was. Jack Frost is tempting the elves away from their workstations with the mention of hot cocoa in the break room and stuff, and that's how he's able to sabotage a lot of the equipment. Is cocoa like elf crack? Because I like hot chocolate a lot. I would not suddenly abandon my workstation to go drink some, and the elves, despite being child actors, I don't think canonically have the brains of children.
No, they're like hundreds of years old, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, but no, even still.
Hang on. If they don't have the brains of children, then how is Neil doing child psychology on them?
And why are they in elementary school? I think they must have some childlike mindset.
Well, no, okay, hold on. Elementary school, I think we can excuse, because despite the fact that elves, I guess, are eternally young or whatever, that doesn't mean that there aren't still young elves, you know? Like, it's just a different standard.
Do elves die?
Like,
Do elves go through puberty?
do elves die? Well, I think they do, yes, because Neil mentions that stress can cut your life down by 100 or so years. So I guess elves do eventually die.
Yeah.
But it takes a while.
There is an elf in the Santa Claus 1 I can't remember his name, but he was the head elf.
Oh, I think I read
Uh-huh.
I think I read up about this. I think his name is like Bernard or something.
Bernard, I think, and he looks like a teenager in that movie.
Right.
I think I actually read up there was some legal contract obligations for why he couldn't appear in the Santa Claus 3.
It really?
Yeah.
Do you have any more details on this? Because this actually sounds sort of interesting.
I mean, by the time the Santa Claus 3 came out, he was probably like 25.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it could be an issue of... Yeah, that
But
would
he
make sense.
also apparently had like a TV show or something to work on at the same time.
Right. I forgot that the first movie and all of its sequels were like a fair bit apart.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's because of a TV show he was airing in that he couldn't take part in the Santa Claus 3.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the funny thing about this is that it's completely... Bernard is completely not even mentioned in Santa Claus 3. Like, nobody even knows that he's missing or gone.
Yeah, he's just suddenly replaced with Curtis,
Interesting.
who is insufferable.
Curtis is the
Yeah,
worst.
I had this note who also written down. I just... The first scene Curtis appears in, I just couldn't help but remember, wow, his acting in this scene is super stiff. Super bad. Like, it is literally just a child reading from a script for a school play, basically.
Yeah, and he keeps crying for help.
I just had a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yes?
that elf puberty is like the precursor to death? Like Bernard
Oh.
died of old age.
Oh, shit.
That's a terrifying thought, honestly.
I got dark quick.
Like, so you're saying that elves never even, like, turn into teenager form. They start puberty and then die before they reach,
Adult.
you know, before they reach 13, basically. 12 is the oldest any
Well,
elf has
no,
ever
they go
gotten in
through
human
puberty,
years.
but then at that
But
point,
the puberty kills them.
elf years is sort of like dog years. They don't look like they're old, but they're actually really old.
So
inside.
wait, it's what you're saying.
Yeah.
How about, let's say that every human year is like 50 elf years? I don't
Maybe.
That sounds possible. I'm not
25
sure.
to 50 elf years, let's say.
That sounds like an estimate. I don't think they ever gave us an exact number of how old the elves were, so I'd say...
Well,
All right, I have a few more notes to go through here, and I'd like to kind of rapid fire through a couple of them because I think some of them are sort of worth mentioning. Jack Frost has a line when Bud or his wife or whoever asks who does his hair, where he just says, "I freeze dry it." I thought that was kind of funny. That was a good one.
I didn't notice that.
In the background of the very erotic Jack Frost ex mother-in-law scene, there's these elves that are, I think, making this large like stack of tins of cookies, and I have no idea why they're stacking it up so high. There's like, I want to say 7 or 8 tins all stacked on top of each other. Why are you doing that, and why are you having one elf carry all of that? That just seems like a recipe for disaster. Anyways,
Speaking of the sipping scene, I actually noted down like the approximate starting and ending times of that scene.
okay.
It started about like 36 minutes and 55 seconds in, and ended about 38 minutes and 30 something seconds.
So that's just a 2-minute, almost set up to a sex scene between the mother-in-law and Jack Frost. Lovely.
Lovely, absolutely lovely.
I don't know how I didn't even notice this the first watch, but Jack Frost's tie is just straight up an icicle, and I really liked that.
Oh,
I
it
don't
is?
know how I missed that. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that costuming detail because it's really, really good. I can't even fucking believe that I didn't notice these two naming conventions, but Scott Calvin, initials SC, Santa Claus.
Oh, shit. I think I realized that showing my second watch, but forgot it because I didn't note it down.
And the second thing, Carol. Christmas Carol. And I think this goes one step further into actually probably spoiling the Santa Claus 2, because in the bad future, Tim Allen meets up with his ex-wife, and she mentions that Carol probably left town because she ran out of local children to terrify, which leads me to believe that the Santa Claus 2 is straight up like Carol is an awful person and Tim Claus changes her for the better, and that's like a double meaning name right there.
Huh.
Okay.
And so the next note that I have, when Carol is picking out a Christmas tree, the signs outside of those are very, very good because it's in the middle of their whole Canada disguise.
Oh, yeah.
The signs read, in order, genuine Canadian Christmas trees from right here in Canada, which is where you are now. And that, I thought, was very, very funny. It really tickled
Another
me.
thing I thought in the Canada showcase is Canadian Bacon Exchange, which I found funny enough to note down.
Yes. One other note, when the in-laws are going on sort of a bit of a tour of the not the main factory part, but sort of going around the outskirts, I think. There's a point where Bud says, like, hey, you take Christmas very seriously, and Tim Claus says, well, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Guess what song is underscoring this scene?
God,
Yes. And those are the first two lines of that scene. So I noted that and I was like, really, guys? Really? On a similar note, when they're flying in with the in-laws down from the giant hole in the sky that is the North Pole, another note I have, hold on. Santa's Got a Hot Ride is playing under that, and I can't believe I did not notice that the first time, because of course it is.
Yeah, like, I think I noticed that, but I didn't note it down because I didn't find it too notable, but in hindsight, yeah. Oh, also,
the other thing I wanted to mention, because I didn't really take much note of this the first time around, the North Pole, from what I have gathered from this movie, it's basically in a hole in the ground, right?
Yeah.
So what is keeping the in-laws from literally looking up, seeing that hole in the sky and all the ice surrounding it, and realizing, no, I don't think Canada is like that. I don't think that's
Because
how Canada
they've never
works.
seen Canada. If they had seen Canada, they know that Canada doesn't look anything like it.
yeah, no,
I
they
mean,
can't
I
even
guess
look on,
that's
like,
fair.
Google Maps or something. Like, what does Canada look like? Also, I noticed down, apparently a sick burn. Like, we're sure you have a perfectly good reason for sutting us out of your life.
Yeah, no, that was something I thought about writing down, but I thought, oof, that's a little
That's heavy.
That's a little real, honestly.
That is heavy.
Like, you can tell that there is some genuine, like, almost tension there, even before, like, things start to get really out of hand.
Yeah.
And I guess that can be a bit of a... I guess we can sort of credit the movie with that they do sort of set it up a little bit beforehand, before things start going to complete shit.
Also, I don't know if we point this out in their live watch or not, but Jack Frost's actor is Canadian, so I just thought that was funny because he does
he
a
really?
really good Canadian setup, like with his
yeah.
like with all his A's at the end of his sentences, like he does
Right,
that
and he
really
doesn't make them
naturally.
super duper obvious like the elves do, because I guess we can attribute that to Jack Frost, I guess, as a character being a better actor, because he's also having to do all this sabotage bullshit in the midst of all
But
this.
it's a genuine Canadian.
I think I had one more major note to go over. Actually, I wanted to do a little bit of discussion on the logistics of the time travel in this movie.
Oh yes, I've got a massive point about that I want to state real quick.
I'd like to open up with this. How is this supposed to work? Because the idea of the escape clause, from what I understand, is that you are sent back in time to before you became Santa, which to me seems like it should have been a case of not the being literally sent back through time, but more time rewinding to that point.
Because here's my problem.
Yes, please go on. I think we have the same idea, so please go on.
Yeah, here's my problem. If Jack Frost didn't hitch a ride with Tim Claus, then we would have just had a situation where Tim Claus would have watched his past self scare Santa off the roof, put on the coat, and he becomes Santa again, and that defeats the entire point of the escape clause.
Exactly. I think the only way that the escape clause could work realistically is if Tim Allen was rewound to that point in time and was still past Tim Allen when we got to that point.
Yes.
But the thing of it is, that would also probably mean Jack Frost wouldn't come back. So they purposefully kind of have to fuck up how this whole escape clause time travel works for it to even be a point of conflict in the movie.
But at the same time,
It's fine because usually people don't wish that they're not Santa without meaning it. And so if a
But-
person wishes they're not
okay, so
Santa,
here-
they'll go back in time, they'll tackle their past selves and prevent them
No,
from
but
killing Santa.
that's the issue. How is that supposed to work, though? Because I would think it would be much easier for time to simply be rewound. They are the same person, but have the memories of what they did, so they know, okay, I'm just not going to put this on this time, and then my life will continue from here, wherever it goes.
Well, then Jack Frost
But-
wouldn't be there to put on the coat.
Exactly! This just doesn't make sense and doesn't work.
Yeah, no, they
The other thing I'd
completely
want to
fucked this
note
up.
with the time travel, it really feels at a point like there are two different movies that they wanted to make with this one movie. Because for the first hour, you have a family drama situation between, Santa and all his extended family. And then the last half hour is basically a superhero conflict between Santa Allen and Jack Frost. And it feels like the latter one, of course, is the one that got really shafted in all of this because we spend so much time on the family drama.
Okay, yes, I actually noted out the timestamps when it started. The Santa Claus versus Jack Frost's bullshit started at 54 minutes and ended at 74 minutes.
Okay, so we spend that's like 20 minutes of being back in time, basically.
Yes. Well, then again, it might be fudged by a bit because I think I started counting as soon as when Jack Frost invited Santa outside to talk about his scribbles.
That's fair, yeah.
So-
That is kind of the start of that.
Yeah. Also, I think we mentioned this before, but how did, I think they sort of blew it off by saying that magical beings can't affect other magical beings, legendary beings, whatever. But how did the legendary beings let this situation fly with Jack Frost? Who approved this?
Well, we don't
That's a
know.
good question.
And wouldn't they be down a legendary being as Jack Frost wasn't redacted from the council? They would have needed a new Jack Frost.
What if Tim Allen became Jack Frost when the timeline reset? And so all
Hold
of the
on.
bullshit that Jack Frost did was pushed onto Tim Allen.
Ooh. Well, that would have been a much better movie,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
there's so many better things they could have done. If
I
they,
think that would have actually solved a major issue
You could
also
have
with
made
this
6 movies with this one movie, which is you have the family drama, that's one. Then you have the interactions between the in-laws and the exes, that's 2. Then you have Jack Frost ruining Santa's life, that's a 3rd one. And the potential of Jack Frost and Santa switching places.
Yeah.
Or
So-
Tim Allen going back in time and being the president of his toy company and realizing
And
that's
not
not what he
being
wants out of
Santa.
life. That's another one. They could have made so many different movies out of this one movie because of all of the conflicts.
Right. Another thing I'd like to point out, I think Tim Allen becoming Jack Frost in that past time whatever thing would have solved a major issue that I have with this movie on second watch, and that is that Jack Frost at the end is quote unquote redeemed. He goes through a little redemption thing with the hug and all that. He did not earn that in any way. There is no setup to him being redeemable. There is no setup to him being a good person after all. None of that. He just suddenly is because magical hug. And I do not think the movie earned this redemption of Jack Frost.
Yeah, they actually foreshadowed that earlier than we thought on first watch. They actually foreshadowed that, I think, like at 15-minute mark.
I have
Yes,
that in
the
my
hug
notes.
thing they did, but they did not foreshadow that Jack Frost was in any way redeemable as a person.
No,
That's my
definitely
issue.
not.
They, during the Legendary Being conference or whatever, he mentions this is his entire motivation is that he's tired of people not knowing who he is, which is why he gets so
Yeah.
upset when Lucy doesn't know who he is, and that's what starts his whole revenge plot thing.
Yes, but okay, here's the thing. He wants something, but he doesn't have any real, do you think that he has any justification for what he wants? Because what he wants is to be bigger than Santa, basically. He wants to be on top of the world, basically.
Just like he says in that song.
Yeah, basically. I said basically a lot there. Holy shit. Do you think he has any right for this?
Not really.
No.
Yeah. That's my point. He has no right to have all the redemption that he does at the end. And the costume change is still just bad. His original costume was so much better.
Yeah, and like I said before, he looks like a cross between Spock and Mr. Bean.
God, I didn't. Did you actually bring up the Mr. Bean thing last time? Because I don't remember
Not last
that,
time, but on the live watch I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, I definitely agree with that, actually.
Yeah,
believe I
you
forgot
tried to
about
argue with me that he looked more like Spock than Mr. Bean, but he definitely looks like Mr. Bean.
Oh, okay, I don't think I... Well, actually, probably did. I don't remember. Oh, God.
He just fucking looks like Mr. Bean, and I think that... Also, what's with the gecko noises he makes when being hugged?
Oh, yes, this is something I wanted to write down, but I was too disturbed at the time to actually remember. But, like, that entire part right there is very awkward, and I resaw again just how great Bud's face is during the hug. It's, like, a mix between disturbed, intrigued, and, like, confused, and it's a very, very good look.
Yeah,
I love
like,
Bud so
is one of the
much.
best characters in this.
This actually leads me into another note that I made that I think we might be able to turn into a segment. And I would like to crown this Bud's prepared for everything, because there is a point during the erotic kitchen scene, from which we shall now call that, until we forget, where the stove basically catches on fire because Jack Frost turned up the heat way too high, and Bud just storms in with a toothpaste gun strapped to his back and starts putting it out. My question to you is, what was Bud doing before this scene that led to him having quick and easy access to one of those toothpaste guns?
And how did he know it was on fire, considering there's no fucking fire alarms in the entire workshop?
Right. My
Maybe he could
proposal
smell
here is
it.
that he already had it on before that scene took place. What led to him wearing it?
Yeah. I think I mentioned that during the live watch, was that he had the toothpaste gun on before the fire started.
Right.
But
So
what
my
was he
question
doing
is,
with it?
can we come up with the scene that took place off screen with Bud and the toothpaste gun?
Okay, I'm thinking that the elves were sewing off some of the stuff that they use around to help, like, with emergencies and whatnot. And Bud got to
Okay.
try out the toothpaste gun, and he was having a little too much fun with it.
Okay, and actually, I can't remember off the top of my head. Does this scene take place before or after Bud starts work on remodeling the infirmary?
I think it...
After.
After, yeah, I want to say after.
Okay, so here's my question. Do you think there was a fire at the infirmary that he was putting out, and then he still had it on when he was walking over into the kitchen
Well, now this
area?
brings up a new question. What were the elves doing in the infirmary that the construction they were doing caught fire?
I'm putting
Well,
in
there
new
was
lights.
an electrical issue.
Yeah.
There was an electrical issue before Bud took over. Like, it went to black, then it comes back, and he has a new costume on, which I still really liked that little transition effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
So
good.
I think there might have been an electrical fire.
But, okay, so new question. After he put out the electrical fire, how did he know to go to the cafeteria and put out the fire on the cocoa machine?
While
Bud's
wearing
prepared
the
for
toothpaste.
everything. He has superhuman fire senses. That's my
He can
explanation for
sense
this week.
fire.
That's my explanation for this week, and I'm sticking to it.
All right.
Right, okay, but why? Bud is just apparently the best character. Like, best minor
I
character.
would watch a Bud Claus movie.
Bud Claus.
You
Yes,
would watch
I
a version
absolutely.
of the Santa Claus trilogy, but instead of Tim Allen, it's Bud.
Oh no, I was just thinking I would watch a side movie that is just all about Bud's day-to-day life, but that is also a good option.
The Bud Claus.
The Bud Claus, yes.
But-
That's a good name.
Alright,
I like that.
Santa Claus 4, the Bud Claus.
I want to bring up something that happened. I think, Jake, you mentioned it during the X scene when Tim Allen hugs Lucy and says, "You have the warmest hugs in the world."
Right.
Is that foreshadowing? And if so, that's amazing foreshadowing because none of us caught it.
I think
Yes,
that was
that
in the
is
15-minute
definitely
mark, that
foreshadowing.
scene. Yes, that is foreshadowing.
If they had said something along the lines of, "Your hugs could warm anyone's heart," that would have been too obvious. But
Right.
they mentioned specifically the warmth for hugs, but not the implications of it, and I think that's really good.
Right.
She also, Tim Allen gives her a snow globe, and she says, well, it's good, but it's not magical.
Interesting.
Foreshadowing like all the snow globes.
Yeah, they foreshadow the Hall of Snow Globes in the X scene. I don't know what to call it aside from the X scene.
Wait, are you thinking same X? Yeah, same X scene with the bag of stock sound effects.
Yes, the bag of stock sound effects. I would like to ask a question of why he has an elephant in his bag. Because there is an elephant sound effect that plays, and that leads to some implications.
Well, I'm glad you pointed out the elephant in the room.
No. The elephant in the bag, you mean?
The elephant
Well,
in
yeah,
the
but
bag in
I
the
think
room.
that's the entire joke. I think that it's just the elephant in the room.
I don't think that's the joke, but
That's
that's
not- I
still a
don't-
nice
yeah.
pun.
Sure, we'll go with that. Minor note that I wanted to point out is when the toy factory is in complete chaos, there's an electric bulletin board in the background that has a message scrolling by, keep calm, but run for your life if necessary.
Yeah, I
that
saw
was
that
a really
as well.
nice detail.
I saw that as well and I loved it.
Yeah, I tried to read it during the first watch, but I couldn't because it was going too fast, so...
It was really good, though. Let's be real here.
There are some good background gags in this movie, I will say that.
Yeah, no, the
There are some
background
very,
gags
very
are
good ones.
pretty damn good.
A surprising amount for a movie that's not meant to be rewatched ever.
It's true. Well, I don't know about that, actually, because keep in mind, this is ostensibly a kid's movie. Kids rewatch movies all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they would have maybe put those in thinking kids would rewatch them. Maybe.
Also, can I point out how sick the old Santa was before Tim Allen?
How so?
Like, I find it a little odd, like, unless he's, like, really old and decrepit and, like, nearly all of his bones are broken, I don't think he would that easily die from falling off the roof and falling onto snow. That would probably cushion his fall.
This is an interesting point, actually.
Like,
Because here's the thing, actually. Because Santa Allen and Jack Frost fall from a much greater height thanks to time travel into the snow as well, but they're perfectly fine.
yeah.
So, do you think maybe the Santa that Tim Allen killed just really was that fucking old? We, from watching the Santa Claus 3, don't really have any idea of the Santa timeline, so we have no idea how old that Santa really is.
Another conspiracy that I saw in TV clubs is that Santa wanted to die and wanted to give up his title.
But he didn't want to use the escape clause.
No, he didn't want to use the escape clause, is what I read. He just wanted to
Right.
pass it on naturally.
Maybe he had a heart attack from the shock.
That's also a possibility.
Okay, that's
But
more
then
likely.
Wait, hold on. If he had a heart attack, wouldn't his body have disappeared as he was falling rather than when he landed? Or is that getting too specific?
No, I think you make a good point there. Like, unless by sheer coincidence he died of the heart attack the exact moment he landed on the ground.
Okay.
Does the Santa have to die for you to put on the coat and become Santa? Or could he have
Yes.
just used his Santa magic to teleport away and Obi-Wan'd the coat onto the ground?
So you're saying that the old Santa might still be alive?
Maybe he might even be, like, on vacation in Malibu or something.
Interesting.
Or either that, or he was on vacation in like Mexico where they apparently have swans. I'm still bothered by the fact that Tim Allen / Scott Calvin doesn't get retroactive memories of his new life.
Yeah, that's another point of inconsistency that I'm still baffled by. Because, like, I think we can assume that Jack Frost lived out those 12 years in real time because of just how crazy everything is up at the North Pole. So why is it different for Scott Allen? I don't understand.
Yeah, like,
Another note that I did make, it's not a very big one, but Lucy, pure soul. Very, very pure soul.
Very pure.
No matter what timeline she's in.
pure.
She loves snow globes. That much is sure.
Snow globes are great.
Snow globes are good. So, I think moving on from the things we noticed during our rewatch,
Yes.
I did my homework and looked up some of the works of the director and writers of the film, The Santa Claus 3.
Okay.
Uh,
This is interesting.
Michael Lembeck is kind of a literal who. Other than the Santa Claus movies and the Tooth Fairy, you know, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie, which is another potential movie that we could watch for a different season.
I've never heard of this movie.
It's not great.
Okay.
But he's
That's
done
not
pretty
the
much
most surprising.
nothing movie-wise, although he has done a lot of TV shows.
Okay, what kind of TV shows?
He was director for, I think, 24 episodes of Friends.
Oh, wow, okay. Wait,
Okay, so he's not
what
that
seasons?
obscure.
1995 to 2000. I'm not sure what seasons those are.
Okay, that's fair. I can't keep track of that either.
Season, so he's
But
not
fair enough.
horribly obscure
I think
there.
I think those were fairly early like still in the early half, I think. Either way.
As for the writers, Ed Decter and John J. Strauss might as well be the same person because they've all worked on the same movies.
Okay.
There's Something About Mary, the Lizzie McGuire movie, as well as
The Lizzie McGuire. Well, actually, no, I guess that's not too surprising.
the Santa Claus 3, and nothing else.
So they didn't work on the first two?
They did not work on the first two. The first two were written by Leo Benvenuti and Steve Rudnick,
Interesting.
who also wrote Space Jam.
Okay.
So that's
pretty
that's a
good.
good explanation to why I've heard the first two are pretty good.
So
On that note, I've also taken note of the fact that the Santa Claus 2 had 7 writers.
Whoa, what?
Excuse me.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
7 writers.
Okay.
So if we ever go back and watch the Santa Claus 2, I guess we can see the difference that 7 writers makes over 2 writers.
That nobody knows.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, honestly. Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
Another part of my research was looking up some of the actors. Some of the more well-known ones, obviously Tim Allen and Martin Short.
Right.
But also, Mother Nature is played by Aisha Tyler,
Oh, wow.
and Bud
Okay.
Newman is played by Alan Arkin.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, God. What are notable roles for both of those? That we might
Alan
know?
Arkin, I'm not entirely sure because he was in a lot of older movies.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. We are millennials, so.
Aisha Tyler, I recognize the name. Oh, right. I remember now. She's the new host of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
right.
do remember that
Yeah.
to yeah, somewhat. Not very much, but I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay. I think we're long overdue to go over to this. Guys, what is your shining light for this watch?
Shining light for this watch.
A part of the movie that you genuinely enjoyed above all the others.
I really like the background detail of one for your lives if necessary.
That is really good. That billboard, that electric bulletin board is really good.
Yeah, the electric bulletin board was one of my favorite parts of this watch.
I would have to agree. I don't know if it's my shining light, but John, what about you?
My shining light probably has to be all the foreshadowing in the scene with Tim Allen and his ex-wife and his ex-family.
Alright.
Yeah, that scene is a lot more significant than I realized on the first watch.
It's
Like,
also
there's
very
some
heartwarming of a scene. Haha. But
Oh no, that's not till later.
Alright, Ted, your turn. Go over what you
Oh
you
boy.
loved.
So I kind of went back and forth on a couple things, but I think my shining light for this watch was actually the Santa plane again, because I noticed something that I can't believe I didn't quite make notice of the first time. In addition to it being just a design of Santa drawn on that plane, he has like this toy bag cape strapped to his back on the airplane design, and I can't believe I didn't notice that. It really makes it more complete when you look at it from like the side and realize that's what it is. So the Santa plane is definitely my shining
fantastic.
light. Every time I see that, like it's kind of also a double light in a way, because on the one hand, it's a very, very good plane. It's a very, very good design, and it's also a sign that you're towards the end of the movie and things are starting to go downhill. Not in that way, but also in that way. So I just really liked the Santa plane this time around.
So, now that we've had our shining light, I think it's time to wrap it up for this week.
Before we wrap
yeah.
things up, I would like to pose a question.
Go for
It's
it.
a different question than last time, because I feel like doing the same question every time will get repetitive.
Of course.
When Tim Allen appears in the past and sees himself, if he kills himself, does he become Santa?
If he kills himself after he puts on the coat again, then I'd say yes.
Yeah, that's where I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna say if he does that, then yes. But if not, he just ceases to exist.
But if he kills himself, regardless, he would cease to exist.
No. It's different timelines. This is a timeline. This is a timeline where Tim Allen goes into another timeline to kill that Tim Allen Santa to become the Santa of that timeline.
So we're dealing with a Schrodinger's Tim Allen situation.
So basically,
A
Tim Allen.
Schrodinger's Santa, if you will.
No, so what I'm saying is Tim Allen hijacks another timeline to become the Santa of that timeline. And
Yeah,
that,
okay,
that
I
means
guess
he would
that
need
We're
makes
gonna have to do
sense.
some logistics thinking on this
That-
one. 'cause
that-
this-
That's what Jack Frost did, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did a
basically.
timeline hijack. And that's what I think the Santa Claus actually is. It's a timeline hijack where you hijack another timeline instead of interrupting the current one.
Here's another question for you then. What happened to the Jack Frost of that timeline? Because again, Tim Allen did not become Jack Frost. Jack Frost, did he take on double duty? We'll have to figure that out next time. I've been Theodore.
I've been Jacob.
I've been John.
We don't have a sign off for this.
Happy New Year,
This-
everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and here's to many more Santa Clauses
Oh no.
for the rest of 2018.
Fuck.
Merry Christmas. I don't know if either of you guys noticed this, but when Bud was on the ladder, he was complaining about the OSHA compliance of the factory.
Right.
If
Sure.
he fell and injured himself, then he would have had grounds for a lawsuit on the husband of his pregnant daughter. In other words, Grandpa would have sued the pants off of Santa.
Oh,
Oh no.
oh no! It all comes full circle.